in the shimmering kingdom of Belmora, there lived a princess named Elira. But if you were picturing a princess who spent her days embroidering silk pillows or practicing graceful curtsies, you'd be looking in the wrong castle. Princess Elira was, by all royal accounts, the absolute worst at being a princess. While other royals were learning the waltz, Elira was teaching Puffinax, her surprisingly nimble dragon, how to roller skate. It was a work in progress. Puffinax had a slight issue with braking, which had led to a few unfortunate hedge-related incidents. The queen would sigh, shaking her head as Elira scaled the castle walls just for the fun of it, her dress tucked into her boots. "Why can't you be more traditional?" she'd ask. But for Elira, tradition was just a fancy word for boring. She preferred adventure, excitement, and a healthy dose of controlled chaos. Her thirst for adventure often led her to the edge of the enchanted Forest of Whispers, a place strictly forbidden by royal decree. The trees there were said to whisper secrets to drive travelers mad, and strange lights danced between the ancient trunks. One sunny afternoon, while her parents were busy with yet another stuffy banquet, Elira decided the forest was calling her name. She grabbed her trusty cast iron, frying pan magically, enchanted to be non-stick, and also surprisingly effective at deflecting goblin spitballs, and saddled up Puffinax. "All right, boy," she said, strapping a helmet onto his scaly head. "Time for a real adventure." With a mighty flap of his wings, they soared over the castle walls and plunged into the green canopy of the forbidden forest. The air inside was cool and smelled of damp earth and something sweet, like honey and old magic. The whispers were real, but they sounded less like maddening secrets and more like a gentle, rustling gossip session. Puffinax navigated the winding paths with the grace of a slightly clumsy elephant until they stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a tall, crooked tower that leaned so far to one side it seemed to be defying gravity. A sign on the door read, "Go away, especially if you're selling anything." Elira, naturally, saw this as an invitation. She marched up to the heavy oak door and knocked loudly. The door creaked open to reveal a wizard with a beard so long it was tied in a knot at his waist. "Can't you read?" he grumbled. The wizard introduced himself as Master Bramblewick, the forest's resident magical grump. He explained that his bad mood was justified. The forest was in chaos because a mischievous shadow beast had stolen his most prized possession, the magic compass of unforeseeable directions. Without it, the forest's magic was going haywire. The rivers were flowing backward, the whispering trees were arguing about politics, and the gnomes were complaining that their mushroom houses kept rearranging themselves. Bramblewick had been trying to get it back, but his old knees weren't what they used to be. "The beast lives in the Gloomfang caves," he sighed. "But the path is treacherous." Elira's eyes lit up. "Treacherous? Sign me up," she declared, brandishing her frying pan. Bramblewick looked from the determined princess to her roller-skating dragon and figured he had nothing left to lose. And so, the unlikely trio, a rebellious princess, a grumpy wizard, and a dragon on wheels, set off on a quest. They had to cross the chattering chasm on a bridge that would disappear if you stopped talking to it, which led to a very long, one-sided conversation from Elira about the proper technique for seasoning a frying pan. Next, they had to navigate the Sneezy Peaks, a mountain range that would let out a giant at you every few minutes, causing mini avalanches of pebbles and dust. Puffinax, whose roller skates were not designed for mountain climbing, slid around like a bowling ball in an earthquake, but his clumsiness actually helped them dodge the falling rocks. Bramblewick, meanwhile, muttered spells to keep them on track, occasionally zapping a grumpy mountain goat that got too close. Elira led the way, her spirits high, deflecting rogue pebbles with her pan and laughing the entire time. She was having the time of her life. Finally, they reached the entrance to the Gloomfang Caves. A chilling wind blew from the dark opening, and strange, shadowy shapes writhed on the walls. Bramblewick held his staff aloft, its crystal glowing dimly. "Be ready for a fight," he whispered. "The shadow beast is fierce and cunning." They tiptoed inside, the only sound the soft clinking of Alira's boots and the squeak of Puffinax's wheels. In the largest cavern, they found it. The shadow beast was a huge, inky creature with glowing yellow eyes. It didn't roar or attack though. It was just sitting there, huddled in a corner, looking utterly miserable. It was holding the magic compass, which was spinning wildly, and using it to draw sad faces on the cave floor. Bramblewick raised his staff, ready to unleash a powerful spell, but Alira held up a hand. "Wait," she said softly. She slowly approached the beast, her frying pan held at her side, not as a weapon, but just in case. "Hello there," she said. The beast flinched, its shadowy form flickering. "You stole the compass," Alira said, not with anger, but with curiosity. "Why?" The shadow beast let out a low, mournful sound, like the wind through a keyhole. A voice, raspy and quiet, echoed in their minds. "Lonely," it said. "So dark. The compass. It makes pretty lights." Alira's heart softened. This wasn't a monster. It was just a lonely creature who wanted a friend. It had been alone in this dark cave for so long that it had forgotten how to do anything but hide and be sad. Alira sat down, a safe distance away. "You know," she began, "being lonely is the worst. Back at the castle, everyone wants me to be someone I'm not. It can feel pretty lonely there too, even with all the people." She looked at Bramblewick and Puffinax. "But then you find the right people, or dragons, or grumpy wizards, and things get better." An idea sparked in her mind. What if you didn't have to be lonely anymore? This whole forest needs someone to look after it. Someone strong and a little bit spooky to keep out the real troublemakers. The shadow beast's glowing eyes blinked. "You could be the guardian of the forest," Alira proposed. "You'd have a very important job, and you wouldn't be alone. The trees would whisper to you, the gnomes would bring you mushroom pies. What do you say?" The shadow beast looked at the spinning compass, then at Alira's kind face. Slowly, it extended a shadowy appendage and gently pushed the compass toward her. The deal was struck. Alira returned to the castle not just as a princess, but as a hero. Bramblewick, now considerably less grumpy, vouched for her bravery, and the story of how she befriended the shadow beast spread throughout the kingdom. Her parents, the king and queen, finally saw that her unconventional spirit wasn't a flaw, it was her greatest strength. They stopped trying to make her embroider and instead built a custom roller skating rink for Puffinax in the royal courtyard. And as Alira watched her dragon friend finally master a shaky but successful figure eight, she knew she was exactly the kind of princess she was always meant to be.